for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, happy Monday evening, folks. This is Scotty Roberts. You're listening to my show, of course, watching it as well. The Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Go on over and see all the goodness that is Odyssey Radio. And at the same time, tune in right here live on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts, where, of course, all the regulars are starting to gather. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday night. The regular crowd shuffles in. So there you are. You're the regular crowd. So I want to thank you all for being here, and those of you who aren't the regular crowd, who are hanging out there in the wings, maybe you're the regular crowd just in silence out there, kind of invisible, just listening out there. That's fine. Glad to have you here. If you ever want to step in to the chat room, you're welcome to come in, add your 2 cents worth, as a few of you have over the weeks, or just listen away. And I just still appreciate your presence either way. And if you want to join this channel, which will help me sustain this channel and all the stuff that goes with it, you can go to the join button just down below right here. That join button is going to bring up an extra window. It'll show you 3 ways you can become a member of this channel. It's a monthly charge every month. It comes automatically out of your card that you sign up with. $2 a month, $5 a month, $15 a month. And those will get you different levels of things that you can get, gifts and goodies from this show, as well as just the knowledge of knowing you're helping keep things afloat over here. And that's all I got to say about that. Come and join if you have not already. I want to say hey to those of you who are here. I'm sorry, my eyes are just weird today. Off and on, off and on. So I got to put on the cheaters. David Potter is here. He was here very early, my good friend Dave. Good to see you, Dave. And we've got Master Finn. Good to see you. And Field Guy. And Morgan Snow is here. And who else? We got Doug Stack. Says he can't be here. Might not be here too much today. He's opening his new business. So he is just swamped. And I'm sure beat and tired out. I think I said Morgan Snow. Good to see you. I have a question to parents that have older kids, she says. What do you do about an unwanted suitor? Well, you asking dads? We dads, we've got a great way to deal with unwanted suitors. And there's tongue-in-cheek ways, and then there's actual ways to deal with an unwanted suitor. The first thing a dad needs to do is never let your girl go on a date with a guy before you've met him. You want to make sure he meets you. You want to sit down. You want to have some talks with that guy. Morgan, same thing. With moms or with dads, if you've got a young person who's got an unwanted suitor, at least on your end, could be just your thing. Maybe you're just interfering. I don't know. As a parent, not you personally, Morgan, but anybody who gets involved in that. But I would say you make yourself known to that unwanted suitor or to any suitor, be it a high school thing or be it a college thing or an adult thing. You want to make sure that they know who you are. And and I've done that in the past. You can ask my own girls. That I have made my presence very known to the people that they were dating. So once they're out of your house, of course, that's a little tougher. If they're out of your home and they live on their own, it's a little tough to get over there and say, hey, I stand as the watchdog at the gate here. So, guys, if any of you have an idea, she wouldn't leave the house till she's 21, says Field Guy. Right, Field Guy. That works. Dave Potter, I sharpen and clean my swords when he comes over for the first time. Exactly. I used to have all the guys that were in the regiment, like Dave, would sit around. We'd be taking apart and putting together and cleaning our weapons, our firelock muskets and our swords and our daggers and all of that. When my daughters were of dating age, we used to joke around about that. Hey, Helene. She says, hey, when you know what to do about unwanted suitors, please tell me, because at nearly 48, I'd like to have a conversation with a cup of coffee that is actually just a freaking cup coffee. Yeah, there you go. So you're getting unwanted suitors that say cup of coffee. Is that a euphemism for getting naked and having sex? Maybe so nowadays. Hey, Audrey, good to see you. Chastity belt, like in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yeah, they really had those things. You had to think those things. That was, I can't believe a man putting his wife in a chastity belt when he was probably out screwing everything around for the year that he was out fighting battles anyway. Let's see. Who else we got in here tonight? I saw Elder Barry. You're here. Good to see you, brother. Glad you made it in. And Scott Allen is here. And a few of you here. I don't think Alan Stiles is here. Good to see you. Live long and prosper, brother. And and Helene Moody, of course, is here. And those who keep coming in, it's time for people to come in, so they'll get here. So, hey, if anybody's got a good answer for Morgan Snow, throw it up there in the chat room. And Helene said, I only went to have an artsy muso chat with coffee. It's never just that, so I'm back hiding indoors. Oh, don't hide indoors from stupid guys. Just check them out before you go meet with them. That's all. You don't want to let those guys control who you are and what you do. So that's my take on it. Never let anybody make you change your mind about what you're going to do. Now, you can let people influence you, yes, in a positive way. But I would never hide indoors because there's some guy out there that might want more than he's asking for. And or vice versa, a woman. And so I've run into those situations. I've met those women. I tried it a couple of times, only a couple of times when I was a single guy. I tried that. I met somebody online, went to meet them, and I was like, oh my God, no. This is not, no. So let's see, look under your YouTube movies. It's in the free section, says Field Guy. I don't know what you're talking about. So I will, Field Guy drunk coffee today. Is that a first for you, Field Guy? I actually got a Coke today, a Coke product. That was a coffee Coke. Tall, skinny can. And it was actually pretty good, but they're too damn expensive. I'm not going to buy those. Like $2 a shot. I'm not going to buy those. $20 for a 12-pack. Nah, I don't think I will be. Field Guy says you drink coffee almost every day. So, Elaine Moody, apparently I'm not for you isn't enough. I'm still married. I love the man, although I can't be with him forever. Why isn't that enough? Did I read that right? Apparently, I'm not for you isn't enough. I'm still married. I love the man, although I can't be with him ever. Why isn't that enough? Are you saying that this suitor is a married guy and you're just saying, hey, I can be friends with you, but that's all it'll ever be? Is that what I'm interpreting by what you're saying? You just put your foot down. Say, that's the way it is. If you can't live by my rules, then you know what? We can't be friends either. Bye. I mean, it's that simple. And sometimes just cutting through the crap. I know the emotional side of it is hard to deal with sometimes, But sometimes you just got to put your foot down and go, hey, this is the way it is. Okay? So that's what you do. Please send me a virtual coffee. I'm having Pucatese, cinnamon. There you go. I don't know, Helene, if you have much more that's going on with this and you want people, just keep posing the question. People will keep helping you out in the chat room over there. And, there's some stuff I wanted to pick up tonight where we kind of left off last week talking about Egypt and ghost stories and the horror stories and almost the Gothic mythology. There's a book I have ordered, and I have to order it on audio, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, who also was one of the founders of the College of Psychic and Intuitional Knowledge or something like that over in London. And that college is still there. And John Ward had taught a couple of dowsing classes there a few years back. And we had Rocky Stucci and I had some very good broadcasts with John from the College of Psychic Studies, I think it's called. You can look it up. It's right downtown London. And John was there, and he was given a floor on the fourth floor flat, I think, where they let guest speakers stay for a week. And he was there, and at about 8 o'clock at night, everybody bugged out. It was deserted, and he got the whole building to himself. The college, the school, the libraries, and all of that. And he had his room where he was staying was actually I've rabbit trailed up at Sir Arthur Conan Doyle just a second because it's worth it. But he was staying in the room that was once used back over 100 years ago by Henry James during the Spiritist movement in London, who was what was Henry James? He was a psychic, a medium, red crystal ball, all of this stuff. And so his old drawing room is the room that was now the room John was staying in for the night. And so he had all kinds of things that would happen to him over there at that college of psychic studies. And there was one evening where Rocky and I had him on the show. We did the Situation Room in its original form was John Ward, me, and Rocky Stucci. And this was back, we're talking 7-8 years ago. And there was a time where when John was at the College of Psychic Studies, and he was all alone in the building. He was 6 hours ahead of us. We broadcast at 3 p.m. at that time. And so here was John. Wait, or did we do 5? No, we did 3 p.m, drive time. And John, it was 9 o'clock there where he was in London. And while he was sitting there, he was telling about his experiences of running into spirits there and encountering them. Running into them is probably a bad way to put it. But he'd say he'd be on that 4th floor flat. All kinds of things would go on. Sounds down the hall at night. His door handle being jiggled at night. And, of course, he'd go out and check. But John, and I say this with all love and admiration, John's a bit of a fraidy cat when it comes to that stuff. So he would experience that, and he'd just cover up and try to go to sleep and ignore it. And I said, we had him on the radio live. And I said, hey, John, here's an experiment. Try this. I said, maybe you've never tried this, John. And Rocky and I had him on the mics. And I said, hold your laptop out. I said, so to face the room. I said, now repeat after me. Oh, spirits of the College of Psychic Knowledge, or whatever the name was. I, John Ward, would like to have you come and touch me in my sleep tonight. Wake me up. Show me that you're here. Make noise. Shake my bed. And John all the while is going, no, I'm not saying that. No, spirits, don't disregard him. No, I don't want that. And so we did that to him. We'd tease him. There was another night when he was there, and he was down in the library. And he said he's sitting in a big high back wing back chair in the library at this college. And as we're talking, you're hearing a up on the ceiling above him. And John stops and he goes, "Oh, do you hear that?" He says, there's banging on the floor above me and there's no one in the building. And so we were doing that again. And we're saying, "Oh, spirits, come and speak to John. Show him, manifest to him." He says, "No, I will cut off this connection right now if you're going to do that." And it was interesting because during the break, Rocky played back some of the recording of that night, and we got EVPs during the actual live radio show, and which is not such an odd thing. Apparently, that happens quite a bit. I think you could probably find that in some of the shows we've done here, that this mic is probably picking up things I've never listened back for. So if any of you listen to this show later on, go ahead and listen back. And if you hear anything, let me know. But anyway, we played back that little segment of John saying, no, I don't want that. And you hear that. And we're telling the spirits, come and introduce yourself to John. And John says, no, I don't want to meet them. And we hear a spirit voice in a very, I want to say Cockney, but it wasn't Cockney. It was probably just common English accent. And we hear a voice say, "Oh, it's all right." And we thought that was fantastic. And we heard a couple of other things like that. So that was at the College of Psychic Knowledge or Psychic Studies or something like that. University of College? Not university level, I don't think. But that's over in London. And it was founded by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Well, there's a book that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle edited and put together. And this was my original point. He put together a book on Egypt and horror stories and Gothic stories from ancient Egypt. And so I want to pick that book up so we can kind of tie that into this series. And so far I can only find it in audio. But I'm trying to see, what was the name of it? I got to see if I've got it up here. Now, excuse me, I already put it away. So I don't have it up here in front of me. Too bad. But you've got to think with Egypt and what we know of Egypt and the mysteries of Egypt, the spirituality of Egypt, the religion of Egypt, my own experiences in Egypt, the experiences I've heard of other people who have been in Egypt, of people who live there, who grew up there, people who are, you think, like when you think devout Christian, you don't think of people that are also into ghosts or ghost stories or have them. You think about that way with the devout Muslim. And most of the archaeologists we work with over there who were Egyptian by birth were Muslim as well. But they would tell the stories, and sometimes in very hushed tones. I must tell you this, but, this goes against my religion, my faith. But I must tell you this story. And because we were sitting doing this radio show, the Intrepid radio show, from the deck of the Dahabeah, which was also served as the dig house for the archaeological mission there with John and Maria Ward. And so we're sitting on deck of the ship and we're broadcasting this show. And I had all these archaeologists sitting around the table with me. And I asked them, I said, so I want to ask you all. And there were 5 or 6 different archaeologists. And I'm talking, these guys are your dyed-in-the-wool scholars. Some of them. They're your, think of your totally non-religious, totally, not into that kind of thing, thinking. And they're strictly focused on the history, on the archaeology, on the anthropology, and all of this. And I would ask them, have you had any paranormal experiences here in Egypt? And have you experienced or seen anything that happens here? And I got a variety of answers. And hey, David Castle, good to see you in here, by the way. Glad you made it to the show tonight. Barbie D, good to see you as well. Pyramid 7, haven't seen you for a while. If you've been hanging in the wings, I haven't seen you. Good to see you. Steve Clark, good to see you down there in Kansas, brother. Glad you made it in tonight. And if anybody else has slipped in, I don't mean to miss you. I'm just talking away. It's like I got nothing else better to do here but talk. So I'm talking. And I'm talking. And so I went around the table and I started asking these archaeologists their experiences. And they ranged from, there was a French archaeologist there. He was not a cartographer, because that's maps. He would do the tracings of the hieroglyphs on mylar. He'd tape up mylar on these buildings and he'd trace all the hieroglyphics and then refine them on the computer and publish them. I can't remember what he was called, his title, but he seemed to be a very staunch scholar to me, rather quiet. And I asked him about his experience, if he'd had any paranormal experiences there. And he said that he had indeed. And he talked to, for him, they were things as easy as he's sitting in the opening of this tomb or this shrine, and he's tracing on the walls, and he saw things, heard things like that. And I don't remember his exact experiences, but they were rather mild, but he said they did exist. And he was very, straightforward about it. One of our Egyptian, a member of the Ministry of Antiquities there in Egypt, one of our Egyptian archaeologist friends, dear friend to John and Maria. And he told of different spells they would concoct, things that would happen, illnesses that would happen, and they experienced the paranormal or the supernatural, and that those were things that would that came back and violated, or not violated, that's not the word, it seemed to go against the grain of what he was taught in his religion, is his spirituality. So every one of these guys had their stories. I've told you about how there was a time where one of the Egyptian workers saw what he said was a jinn in the rocky cliffs along the bank of the Nile. And he came running back onto the boat, yelling to all the other Egyptian workers, there's a jinn in the hills. And they all came in off the shore, into the boat, down into the hold, and smoked shisha the rest of the night. Wouldn't go back on shore till the next morning. So these things are things that are readily accepted and readily believed. The fact that there are ghost stories, spiritual happenings, a spiritism of its own over in Egypt is might violate Islam a bit. Or, again, I don't want to use the word violate. It might go against the grain of perhaps what Islam teaches, goes against the grain of what Christianity teaches, goes against the grain of Judaism, but as a going concern. But these things exist, and they exist outside. It's like all these guys would tell me, well, my faith is here, but my experience is here. I've experienced something different than my faith would tell me does exist. And so that's what's interesting about just some of my own experience in dealing with some people over there, talking to them about this, about this particular topic. And pardon me, my cough does sneak up on me a little bit, still hanging on from last week. And the more I talk, the more I agitate my throat. If I'm not using my diaphragm and speaking well, projecting well, I can have a tendency to wear down my throat very quickly. So let's see. Just seeing what was on here. What you're all talking about. And if it's about this stuff. So anyway, moving on. So tonight I wanted to, I see we got Field Guy. You know where you're sitting? I didn't see you because my microphone is right here. You are right behind my microphone on the screen. So unless I move way over here, I didn't see that you were there till just now. Boom. How you doing, Field Guy? What's going on? What's shaking? What's happening? Can you hear me?
Oh,
Field.
yeah. Oh. I hear you. Am I here?
You're here. Did you hear me at all?
Sorry,
I didn't see you right away. I don't know how long you were sitting there, but you were hanging in the wings, and your miniature of your screen is right behind my microphone on the screen down here. So I didn't see it till I moved way over here, and then I saw you sitting there.
About since the beginning, but I had to refresh a couple times because StreamYards is just glitching on me. So
right on. So what's going on?
Yeah. Other than the weather, not much really. Just general stuff. I think it's flooding outside again.
Yeah.
So that's always a nice thing.
Sure. Well, you live in a swamp. That whole area is a swamp.
Yeah, they had a tropical storm, couldn't make up its mind. It just went doop, doop, doop. And then,
Yeah. Wait, Helene says she's part of the naughty bench tonight.
I don't know if I'm...
Sorry, Scotty.
Probably am.
Not been having so much fun in weeks. Sorry to hear that, Helene. I'd like to hear you say naughty, though. A couple of friends of mine and I, we went to England back in 2005. And we rented a car. We went pub hopping in England for 2 weeks. Dave Potter, if you're still listening, yeah, I see you there. That was Jeffrey and Nate Westover and I. And we went over, and Samantha was with us too. You know Samantha. But we went pub hopping for 2 weeks. And one of the criteria for any good-looking barmaid, and I'm sorry, good-looking by our standards, we had to say, you have to be good looking. Well, and I think we had everybody do it anyway, but we had to hear the barmaid say naughty, and we would tip her well. We just say, we just have to hear you say naughty and naughty. And she'd go, one of them went naughty. And we said, yes, that's it. You win. Well, then we had a couple of, shall we say, inebriated young ladies bumped into us outside one of the pubs, and without even prompting, she looked at the three of us, the two of them together, and she looked at the three of us, and she kind of winked and nodded her head, and she goes, so, she says, what are you three blokes up to tonight? Being naughty? And there was one other word. She hit a trifecta. Oh, blimey. She says, blimey. What are you three blokes doing? Being naughty? And we said, yes, naughty's the word. But you said you added blokes and you added not bloody, blimey to it. And I said, there's 3 words right there. You win the trifecta, and so we bought them drinks. But there you go. I don't know where that story came from. You said something that made me think of it. So Dave Potter says, yep, I remember.
It's all good.
So, Helene says she's a minx. It's old school naughty.
I was actually talking about that today.
It's a refined naughty. You were talking about old school naughty today? Field guy.
Not that, tonight? Just English accents.
Oh, English accents. Okay.
Think so. Does this thing keep kicking in and out? StreamYard keeps kicking out in and out on me. It's just
you and I might be lagging.
Pain in the butt for me tonight.
I tell you what, call me back when you're free.
It's been lagging the whole night.
I'm going to take you out because of your lag. All right, there we go. I'm going to boot him also from the studio. Boom. All right, so ghosts and all of that stuff we were talking about. I want to get into this topic of Egyptian ghosts again. But before I do, remember last week we were talking a bit about ghosts in ancient Egypt. We talked about the ghost story that we read from ancient Egypt. And Khonsu-Neb, I think was his name. Now I can't remember off the top of my head. But we talked about his story from ancient Egypt. And we also talked about, we started to get into the soul in ancient Egypt, how in early Egyptian belief, the soul was viewed as this single entity known as the Khu, K-H-U. which was this immortal aspect of a person. So they're saying not just Egyptian people had this. This was their belief system. They're saying everyone, all of you listening tonight, everybody here has a Ku, a K-U-H-U, which was the immortal aspect of your person, of who you really are at the core. And in time, it came to be recognized that it was being comprised of 5 different aspects, this Ku, and sometimes of 7 aspects, and sometimes even 9. And this was all depending on what era in Egyptian history you lived. And the 9 aspects form this general understanding, informing the concept of the 7 and the 5. And the Khat, the K-H-A-T, was the physical body. The Ka was one's double form. The Ba was a human-headed bird aspect, which could speed between earth and the heavens. The Shoyet was the shadow self. The Ak, A-K-H, was the immortal, transformed self. Sahu and Sechem were aspects of the Ak. Ab was the heart, the source of good, the source of evil. Ren was one's secret name. And the Khat needed to exist in order for the Ka and the Ba to recognize itself. And so when one died, it was one of the utmost importance that the body be present, as intact as possible. And it's this belief, which led to the Egyptian practice of mummification. Hey, beautiful.
I hate kids.
Come here.
No.
Yeah, come and say hi.
I don't want to.
You're here. You've interrupted my show already.
I didn't interrupt your show. You interrupted it. I wasn't talking to you.
Here's Rainey. Come and say hi. Hi, Rainey. You having a good time? You having a good evening? What's going on?
Can you hear our kids out there screaming?
I do hear them screaming.
They are not listening.
What's going on? What are they doing?
They're fighting over the phone, and now they're just beating the shit out of each other.
Take the phone away.
I did. It's in here.
Oh, okay, good. We'll say, hey, Dave Potter's out there.
Hey. Hi, Dave. I
and
miss you.
So does everybody else. She misses you, Dave.
I do. You haven't been around for a while.
You should come on over.
You should.
Bring some Errol Flynn movies with you.
No, don't bring movies. It's too nice to be watching movies.
Pyramid 7 says, it's Pants Off Monday. That's why I'm like this.
Show us your picture with your no pants.
Yeah, really.
Prove no pants Monday.
Prove it's no pants Monday. Well, that's all. I just want you to come over and say hi.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi,
Hey.
Scotty. I'm going to go sit
Beautiful.
over at my computer.
I love you.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry you got to deal with
you're not.
children.
Not even close to sorry.
So now they're laughing and screaming. I don't know if you folks can hear them or not.
Yes?
Yeah. Go do whatever you're going to do.
I'm going to go sit at my computer.
Okay. Bye.
Holy, that was loud. Bye.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't even in her ear.
Yeah, that was in my ear.
It was right here. It was right here, not in here.
Yeah, the noise went right there. Right there.
Yeah, right here. And then when it came out over here.
Tell me what you don't think. It's my body. You don't think I know what's happening to my body?
I don't know what's happening to your body.
Obviously not anything you're going to get to know about because you're telling me what I'm feeling isn't right.
I didn't tell you what you felt was wrong.
Uh-huh.
I told you where I kissed you.
Doesn't matter. It still was in my ear and you're telling me it wasn't. So whatever.
No, I said I kissed you here, but you heard it here. Whatever. Familial interlude tonight, folks. There you go. And that was the relationship minute from Intrepid Radio for you guys.
Shut up!
Dave Potter said he misses you too, by the way. Come and visit, Dave. Helene loves Errol Flynn movies, especially the Robin Hood ones. I think there was only one Robin Hood one that he did. So the Robin Hood one. Let's see. Greetings and favor to you, Rainey, says David Castle. Matt Finn says, good evening, Mama Rainey.
Good evening.
Morgan Snow says, hi, Rainey.
Hi, everybody.
Dave Potter said, tell the kids Uncle Dave doesn't approve.
I'm not going out there.
Scott Allen says, rainy at night? Yeah, rainy at night. We were at the zoo today. We went to the Minnesota Zoo, and there was a little farm set up way at the back end of the zoo. and set up a red barn, a nice house, all that, a farm thing. Kidding? And there was 2 rabbits in the cage. My kids are all looking at, look at the cuddly, cute rabbits. Oh, they're cute. All of a sudden, the black one hops on top of the white one and starts humping to beat the bad. And I mean, hey, bunny humping. And Rowan, I think, I don't know how detached they were, but they were like, what are those bunnies doing? And what the bunnies were doing. They were mating. I said, that's where little new bunnies come from. I said, and that's how I met your mother. So anyway, boom, chicka, boom. Let's see. So moving on. So we're talking about all this stuff here right now about the whole thing about the soul. So the ka, the ba, all these things. And this is why the body was to be preserved. The kat, K-H-A-T, needed to exist in order for the ka and the ba to recognize itself. And so when a person died, it was the utmost importance that the body be preserved as intact as possible. Why do you think we have that hangover of that in Western culture, of embalming the body so the body doesn't rot? It's to keep it pristine and nice. Is it just to keep it so the funeral industry has something to do? 3 days after you die? I don't know. I think it all comes out of this belief that the body should remain incorrupt. Do you know that there is some belief systems, some Catholic belief systems that say that if you burn the body, if you cremate it, it does not resurrect because it's been forever destroyed. So there's something to this keeping of the body, and they kept it preserved as intact as possible. And it's this belief which led to the Egyptian practice of mummification. And so when a person died, the family brought the body to the embalmers, the ancient equivalent of the modern day funeral home. And the body would then be cared for to the degree the family was able to pay for it and afford it. And there were 3 options for embalming and burial, from the top shelf price, which associated the corpse with the god Osiris, to a lesser price, which included embalming, rites, and a coffin on a more modest scale, and to the lowest price, which provided the least amount of service. Anubis, by the way, the dog god of Egypt, he was the god of mummification and the afterlife, as well as the patron god of lost souls and the helpless. That's who Anubis is, the dog god of Egypt. The family's choice of those 3 options, by the way, and after death, would dictate the kind of coffin provided, the funerary rites the corpse was entitled to, and just as importantly, how the body was prepared for burial. And so embalmers... Are we done bickering in the background while I'm doing live radio, children? Just a question. I don't care. There's no respect for what we do in here. There's no respect at all. Damn. All right. Go take care of them. Oh. Shut up. She threw stuff out to them and shut the door back up. There you go. Go away.
I'm done parenting for the day.
Yeah, really.
Pissing me off. I'm done.
So, as I was saying, embalmers would present all 3 of those choices to the bereaved. And they knew that their choice could affect the afterlife, the deceased's life after death, as well as their own life in the coming months. So if the family could afford the deluxe Osiris option, but chose instead to save money on the second, or even the third option, the spirit of the deceased had every right to return to complain. And so in cases such as these, the Akh was given license by the gods to return to earth and right the wrong. Forevermore I quest till all my bones forever rest. That type of scenario was deemed okay for the gods, if a deceased person's family cheaped out on them until it could be made right. And the Auk could return for a number of other reasons, beside a cheap burial with insufficient funerary rites. Any wrong which had been done to the deceased, which had not been atoned for in life, could be the cause for a haunting after a person's death. This is all in Egyptian religion and mythology. And what are you doing? Just making noise like this is not a show going on here.
There's no show. This is my office too. You could just be quiet.
This is my office and my studio, and you're in here by my permission during my radio show. Hush. Psst. It's gonna bode well here tonight. Oh, guess who shares an office with his wife and is not having sex tonight? This guy. All right. So the returning spirits in ancient Egypt. So one of the best known examples of a haunting in ancient Egypt comes from a letter written by a widower to the spirit of his dead wife. Found in a tomb from the Middle Kingdom, he writes, "What wicked thing have I done to thee that I should have come to this evil pass? What have I done to thee? But what thou hast done to me is to have laid hands on me, although I had nothing wicked to thee. From the time I lived with thee as thy husband, down to today, what I have done to thee that I need hide? When thou didst sicken of the illness which thou hadst, I caused a master physician to be fetched. I spent 8 months without eating and drinking like a man. I wept exceedingly together with my household in front of my street quarter. I gave linen cloths to wrap thee, and left no benefit undone. It had to be performed for thee. And now behold, I have spent 3 years alone without entering into a house, though it is not right that one like me should have to do it. This have I done for thy sake, but behold, thou dost not know good from bad." Now, the man must have been enduring some suffering which could only be explained by the agency of his deceased wife. The illness, the bad fortune, were attributed to either the work of the gods to teach one lesson or to punish some sin, the activities of evil spirits, or the anger and the resentment of the dead. And in this case, the widower claims to have done everything properly in his relationship with his wife, even after she died, stating that he's gone so far as to avoid visiting a brothel, or a house, it says, in the 3 years since she's been gone. Rainey, if you should die, I will not visit a brothel for at least 3 years to prove I am in mourning for you.
Better be at least 10.
At least 10, she said. So now, so for 3 years, this guy says, I haven't even done that. I've done everything right, he says. And by the way, brothels were practically non-existent in Egypt prior to the time of the late period. And so his reference is assumed to be an establishment like a bar or a pub where prostitutes may have been found. And there's not a great deal of evidence for prostitution in ancient Egypt on the whole. And the man could simply be referring to a house in the way one today would go to an ale house or a pub house without any sexual implication, though the passage is generally not interpreted that way because he's talking to his wife, and the implications of what he says, look, I've done everything right. I did everything right for you in life. I even buried you right, and I haven't even had sex with anybody since you've died, nor have I visited a house of ill repute. So in a case like this, the man would have gone to a priest or a wise woman, a seer, to intervene, or perhaps he visited a temple. Rosalie David comments on this, writing this: "Some temples were renowned as centers of dream incubation, where the petitioner could pass the night in a special building and communicate with the gods or deceased relatives in order to gain insight into the future." And so when these options failed the person, the living would resort to writing a letter, which this guy did and left it in his wife's tomb or grave. And an important means of contact with those who had passed into the next world was provided by the so-called letters to the dead. People who considered that they'd suffered injustice could write a letter to the dead, asking them to intercede on the writer's behalf. If a living person with problems had no powerful patron in this world, he could seek the help of the dead. The letters were placed in the tomb chapel at the side of the offering table, where the deceased spirit would find them when it came to partake of food. So requests found in the letters are varied. Some sought help against dead or living enemies, particularly in family disputes. Others asked for legal assistance in support of a petitioner who had to appear before the divine tribunal at the day of judgment. And some pleaded for special blessings or benefits. And since the dead continued to exist in the afterlife, they could be contacted whenever the living needed them to. Just because they could no longer be seen on earth was no reason to believe that they'd ceased to exist. So Egyptologist William Kelly Simpson wrote this: "Death for the deceased Egyptian who had undergone the rites of beatification was an extension of life. And as the practice of festal banqueting in tomb chapels indicates, rapport between the living and the dead was by no means always a gloomy affair." Oh, Ebenezer Scrooge. At the stroke of midnight, death will visit thee, or whatever. It wasn't always gloomy like that. Sometimes Egyptian ghosts were not as much eerie beings as personalities to whom the living reacted, frankly, very pragmatically. And you saw that in the story we told of Consemheb and the ghost, or the ghost Nebusemek, and the conversations they had with each other in that story we told last week. So the afterlife, the basis for these Egyptian ghost stories, was known most commonly as the field of reeds. It was precisely mirrored one's earthly life. The gods had created the most perfect of places when they made Egypt, and Egyptians were granted the great gift of living there eternally after they had passed through death and the judgment of Osiris. So when we had Manetho, like the title of tonight's show and last Friday's show, Manetho, 4th century BCE historian from Egypt, Manetho referred to his own country, Egypt, as the land of the gods, the demigods, and the spirits of the dead. Because this sea of reed, or field of reeds that was put up, this was the great gift where eternally ever after all Egyptian souls could go to dwell. And so Egypt is filled with the gods and the demigods and all the spirits of every living person who ever lived in Egypt dwells there spiritually, even now, to this day. But the central understanding continued to weave its way through Egypt's long history of this thing. And in the Middle Kingdom, one finds texts which most sharply deviate from the belief in the eternal life of joy in the next world. And this is reflected in lines which Consemheb speaks to the spirit of Nebusemek. He says, "How badly you fare without eating or drinking, without growing old or becoming young, without sunlight or inhaling northerly breezes. Darkness is in your sight each day. You do not get up to leave early." Now, this is a view that you find pretty commonly expressed in the Middle Kingdom in Egypt, and Middle Kingdom literature. This view of death. That death may have been a certainty, but what came after wasn't anymore. The Egyptian view from this period, at least as expressed in the literature, is much closer to that of Mesopotamia, where the dead lived on in an eternal twilight. They lapped up water from puddles. They ate dust. And unlike the traditional Egyptian view, where one lived on as one always had, and now the spirit was thought to have no connection to one's previous life. Consummeb's line, "You do not get up early to leave," would refer to one's earthly practice of rising in the morning to go to work. And in the traditional view, one would have worked on in the afterlife at whatever one had done on earth. Tombs were always considered one's eternal home in Egypt. And from the mastabas of the early dynastic period, which is you're talking about 3150 to about 2613 BCE, to King Dojer's stepped pyramid at Saqqara, where I had my own experiences, right around 2670 BCE, through the monuments of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was the 300s to the 30s BCE. But in the Middle Kingdom, they seem to be viewed widely as one's final destination. So concern over the dead and returning spirits had always been a part of Egyptian culture. But a certain skepticism started marking the Middle Kingdom attitude, and it made ghosts a much more present threat to the established order in questioning an afterlife of eternal peace. And if there was no paradise, then where did people's souls go when they died was the big question. And the most prevalent answer seems to be they went nowhere. They remained in their tombs, their eternal homes. Ghosts no longer came from an afterlife to interact with the living. They were present in this life all the time. And so at the same time, there is seen this great increase in personal piety. You had to become personally pious. Individual expression of devotion to the gods, and one's duties began to appear more frequently in tomb expressions during the Middle Kingdom. There was this notable emphasis on personal piety that is direct personal access to deities rather than via the king or the priests, a religious concept that further increased in popularity between the New Kingdom and which we saw in Christianity. This shift to a personal God. So stelae from the Middle Kingdom stressed the piety of their deceased owners. And out of this grew the concept of the negative confession, the ritual lists of misdemeanors that the deceased claimed not to have committed. Well, I didn't do any of that. I didn't lie. I didn't do any of that. I didn't lust. I didn't steal. Good God, no. And so stelae themselves became these really popular. Are you shaking your finger at me?
No, I was flipping off my computer.
Oh. See, I'm going like this when I'm talking, and out of the corner of my eye, I see my wife over there doing this. And so I thought she was shaking her finger at me. She's now I was flipping off my computer. So there you go. Yeah, take that, computer. Yeah. Dumbputer. All right. So stelae themselves, they became really popular memorials, especially those decorated with the Wadjet eyes, and the paramount symbol of protection. And so declaration of one's piety. A knight of the Table Round should be invincible, succeed where a less fantastic man would fail. Remember that song? So declaring your own piety. Where in the world is there in the world a man so untouched and pure? C'est moi. C'est moi. C'est moi. I blush to disclose.
Oh my God.
'Tis I humbly imply. That man in whom these qualities bloom. C'est moi. 'Tis I. I see that. Yeah, like, this intrusion of a radio show on her work over there.
I need your help. Are you done yet?
No, I'm not done yet.
How about now?
It's not even 10 o'clock.
Jeebus.
What do you need help on?
Resizing an image
Oh, I'll help you with that.
right now.
You resize. No. There's a bad joke in there that I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I'll resize for you if you resize for me.
That's not
funny.
That's not even funny.
Oh, that's funny, honey.
Not funny.
I find that very humorous. C'est moi, not Samoa, Dave. C'est moi. So, declarations of one's piety were carved into stone markings at one's tomb. She keeps throwing stuff at me. She's going to get in trouble.
You're going to get in trouble.
You just wait and see.
Show me.
I'll show you. I'm doing radio here.
Nuh-uh. Go watch the kids.
So,
am I going to be in trouble after this?
She's in so much trouble. So, Rainey's on the warpath, says Morgan Snow. Know that feeling? Yeah, all you women, shut up. So, let's see. What else have we got? What are people saying? I sometimes say that to my wife, Scott Allen, said Matt Finn. I missed something. I had a girlfriend who used to sometimes say, no sex for you. And I'd respond, well, not with you anyway.
Oh, that's
nice.
Bad.
Oh, that's really bad. So, all right. So where are we? I'm not going to get much else done by way of topic tonight, folks.
Yeah, I messed it all up. Ha! So there.
Because of somebody. So I can make a nastier face than you. So statements of piety we'll pick up with tomorrow. So
yeah. So there.
So there. Oh, I crushed myself to your bosom.
That was a side boob, sorry.
I hadn't noticed. So, all right. All right, folks, there it is. That'll help, but it'll cost you.
He's got nothing.
Hit that little blue arrow, will you?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have a push button like yours. You got to use the mouse. Way to go, Rainey, says Matt Finn.
Yeah.
Rainey, how was the outing, says Barbie D.
The camping trip, it was fun.
The camping trip.
We had fun.
Who did Rainey cut? Or out? Oh. No one. She had Rowan Claire on a scout camping this weekend. So, and I had Flynn and Ellery at home.
And Rowan, it was her first time at Camp Filippo. It was kind of
Filippo.
I got 25,000 steps in the first full day of camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many did we do today? That didn't even beat today.
I think we got 13,000 today.
We only did 13,000 a day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So, so there you go, folks. Camping is awesome.
Camping is awesome. The only thing is we need to get a little bit our beds. We pretty much had room for our beds and not our camping gear, which was.
Did you use our own tent, or did they have their tents, their cabins?
We used that tent Flynn got for Christmas 2
years
years
cool.
ago.
That's cool. Right on.
So it was decent size, but there wasn't enough room for our bags, and then it did get a little wet inside the tent on Sunday morning, so the bags where they touched the tent and the beds where they touched the tent were wet.
Were you up on the blow-up beds though?
Yeah, air mattresses.
All right, because Flynn and I slept on those air mattresses down in those caves, and it was damp and muddy and all that deep down into the ground, and we never got wet though.
Yeah.
So.
But we need like a 6-person tent instead of a 4-person tent, just to get that extra like foot around the tent, so we have that just a little extra space.
Shepty dolls, Elaine. I just saw you mention that.
What?
I didn't see the kind. I may be wrong, but it seemed like a modern fetishism of. It just scrolled up. Do me a favor and scroll that down because the mouse is over by you. Right here. This is what I wanted to see. Are you going to discuss the sacred prostitution of ancient Egypt, Scotty, i.e. the temple of Min and the god's wife on another episode? It wasn't frowned upon. It was a religious festival. Yeah, we've talked about Min. We've actually had little statuettes. Rainey sold little statuettes of Min.
Oh, man, they went crazy on that.
They went crazy. She couldn't keep them in stock. But yes, we've talked about Min before and sacred prostitution. We can do it again. Not according to any of the real Muslims I know, form of countries and sects. None of them believe in that. It's a cult recruitment technique. Oh, what, the religious prostitution? Yeah. Religious prostitution is always a cult technique to recruit. Hey. I might be wrong, but it seems like a modern fetishism of uber fundamentalism that has nothing to do with Allah, who preached peaceful practice. I'm still hoping to get a decent English translation of the Quran. There you go. There you go. Let's hit that. There you go. All right. Let's see. So, there we go. You know, that's all we got for tonight. That's the show. We've exhausted the topic for tonight. No, we've exhausted the time to deliver the topic tonight. Wow, you look really pretty tonight, Randy.
Thanks.
Sure. I think it's all the sunshine you get.
All the sunshine.
It's gotta be. Yeah. So.
Yep.
For all that walking, your butt feels really muscular tonight.
Right?
Just saying.
Someone's calling you out there on your phone too. I hear it.
Oh, I'm sure. All right, guys. So, you know, that's all we've got for tonight. So we're going to sign off.
That's it.
And while you haven't had Rainey on the show on Sunday mornings, you've got her right now. And she has been here this evening, joining me on the program live. And so it was kind of fun to have my daughter just did. She answered the phone out there and she had it on live for whoever called and walked it back here while I'm doing the show. This is what goes on during my show. My wife comes in, my wife flashes me, my wife yells at me, she throws things at me, she challenges me, and then she comes on and she has a good time on the show too. So, and then my children come in and they do all sorts of stuff like that.
And she already answered the phone too. So.
Who was it?
Steve Kaufman.
Oh, Steve Kaufman. I'll call him right back. Yeah, I'll call him back. All right, guys. So that's it. That's all we got for tonight. You always stand way back behind me over there.
That's it.
And you look like really tiny.
I want him to look tiny.
There you go.
Tiny with big boobs.
Tiny with big boobs. Oh, yeah. Works for me.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. I was transfixed there for a moment. So, look, she's actually a normal size when she's next to me. See, I'm actually shorter than she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's Amazonian.
That's where Ellie gets it.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night.
Yeah,
we will be back tomorrow, same time. And so in the meantime, you know what? I just want to say, live long and prosper.
Peace out.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.